It's weird being the host.
You have to do all of this stuff, and the ins and the outs and the chipper talking and movement.
I know.
Chipper movement.
Where's Connor Ann when you need her? She's off playing with kangaroos in Australia, taking walks on the beach. She sent me a photo in text message. And she's like, why doesn't everyone live here? And I looked at the photo and I was like, oh, it's kind of hard to disagree with it. It kind of looked like Hawaii in a weird way, wherever she was.
Wow.
Man, who would have known that the host of our travel podcast would constantly be traveling?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2023. This episode is going to be a look back at 2022. And then us and the producers are going to do some predictions for 2023. Now, you're probably not used to hearing my voice as much. Today, Connor Ann is somewhere off gallivanting around Australia, taking a little much-needed vacation. And you are joined on the podcast with producer Nathaniel and producer Diana.
Hi.
Howdy.
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start the first part of this podcast off by looking at some reflections for 2022. So the style of this, we're going to have 3 questions or 3 roundtable sections for 2022 where we take a look back. And then we're going to have 4 questions for 2023 where we make some predictions and talk about some trends. So let's get into it. I'll start off with the first one. Let's go with you, Nathaniel, first. What was your favorite travel app or company of 2022?
So the one I really enjoyed was Gas Buddy. I had known about them for a long time, had used them on and off. And then last year, we saw a more significant spike in gas prices. So I finally, and that every time there's a spike in gas prices, I feel like there's news stories about Gas Buddy. So I finally bit the bullet and was like, I guess I'll check it out in earnest. I got the card, and I gotta say, it was a much better experience than I had in the past, when it was just kind of like finding gas stations and crowdsourcing prices. With their card, I was saving like 10 cents per gallon on average, which I was really impressed with. As prices come down, the average is kind of dropping a little more, but 5 to 10 cents per gallon. And even with gas prices evening out, I think I will definitely continue using it because, it was really impressive and saved me some money.
Wait, you get a card with it? I've never heard of that. Is that a thing?
Yeah, so they offer, it's basically like a debit card that you just link to your account, and then instead of paying with your normal credit card, you pay with this Gas Buddy card, and you activate a discount. So you pick up, you pull into a gas station, you say, I'm at this gas station, and then you activate a discount, and it says it's active for the next few hours. You use your card, and it gives you those savings when it pulls the money from your account. And I love it. I mean, the map side of the app is what really, I think, improved, because we travel a lot via driving. So as we're on the road, to be able to pull it up as we're going and say, I want to check for a nearby gas station that's going to give me a nice discount. It was really solid.
Wow, that is a solid app. And it comes with a card, so that's awesome. So you consistently get deals, which is great with our fluctuating gas prices.
Yeah.
Diana, what's your favorite travel app or company of 2022?
Well, I know my favorite of 2023 might be Gas Buddy after hearing Nathaniel's little praise there. But the one I actually used, I think I used it twice this year, and it was just so mind-blowingly helpful for travel. It was Time Shifter. It was the one I used when I went to Japan, and that actually had a super cool, scientific approach to beating jet lag. They talk about your circadian rhythm and the best ways to kind of get yourself on track, when to fall asleep, when to avoid light, because it's a mix of when you should block out all light, when you should get sunlight, even if it's artificial, and when you should open the shutters and throw up the sash, all that stuff. So anyways, all of that really helped me adjust going to Japan. Coming back was a different story, because we had a 12-hour layover. And I experienced 11 a.m. 3 times in 26 hours. So I kind of ignored the app because I wanted to go to Disneyland on my 12-hour layover. But, that's neither here nor there.
Did you get to Disneyland on a 12-hour layover?
Yep. Oh yeah, we did both
That's
parks.
impressive.
We did almost everything.
2 parks in one 12-hour layover.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
It was pretty dope. Yeah, it was like a 30-minute ride from the airport.
Did you then, when you got back here, also go to those parks so that you could hit like West Coast, East Coast parks?
Oh my Lanta, I don't know if I could handle that. My poor heart. I did not.
Fair.
Awesome. And Timeshifter co-founder and CEO Mickey is a friend of the pod. So we'll have to have him on sometime to talk about Timeshifter, because we first met Mickey back in 2018. So Timeshifter has been at it for a while. They have a really good product and, like you said, a lot of science behind it. I think it got its start in doing something with NASA, but I could be getting the story wrong. So we'll save it for another day. Let Mickey come on and give the whole origin story of the app, but super cool app. And if you're going to travel internationally, highly recommend it. So I'll take this last one. My favorite travel app of 2022. I know I'm going with a very safe answer here, but it's the Delta app. I love a good airline app. And when you fly Delta and you're a SkyMiles member and you book your ticket and you have your app, essentially you feel like nothing can go wrong throughout the day. Because whatever happens, whether it's tracking your bags, whether it's a flight disruption and rebooking, the Delta app takes care of everything. And outside of just being a really good piece of technology and really well done, Delta was just solid this year. Even amongst, all of the drama with the airlines of missing bags and missed connections and canceled flights, I felt like when you booked with Delta, you could book with confidence. And now I sound like a Delta spokesperson, but 10/10 recommend, big fan. My favorite travel app of 2022 is definitely the Delta app. It's chef's kiss.
I don't
awesome. Now we
think
have
it takes that long to know that you are a Delta fanboy. I feel like episode 1 it might have come out, and now it's a fact. Kenny loves Delta. Kenny hearts Delta.
It's true.
He needs a t-shirt.
Yeah. All right. I have a different question. If you guys want to answer my question now, I want to know, what did you find to be the most shocking travel news story last year?
All right, I'll go back to back here. Mine is China staying closed for most of 2022. Chinese travelers spent $277 billion overseas in 2018 and another $255 billion in 2019. Chinese travelers spend a lot of money globally, and it was shocking as the rest of the world reopened that China remained closed. And I think it's going to be one of the more interesting storylines of 2023 as China reopens and their travelers have years of pent-up demand. To see the China revenge travel and how that affects the global markets is going to be super, super interesting.
What is revenge travel?
Wait, what? You didn't do revenge travel after COVID where you're like, I
absolutely did revenge travel.
I 100% did. But revenge travel, Diana, is when you've been cooped up, you haven't taken a trip in a while, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go all out. So during COVID, a lot of people were locked in their house for a year or more. Typically, maybe the average, family goes on 2 to 3 trips a year if they're lucky. And then all of a sudden they did 0 trips. So they had a little bit of money stored up in the bank. All the COVID relief money kind of padded some people's bank accounts along with an inflated stock market. And people domestically used that to their advantage and kind of went crazy when it comes to booking trips in 2021 and 2022.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I think I've heard of that. I just don't know why I didn't equate that to being this harsh word of revenge travel. I will go to Walmart twice in your region, or Walmart's not exciting. What's an exciting place? Hawaii. I will super take more pictures of your palm trees.
Are you vacationing to Walmart?
Walmart or Hawaii are your 2 options. That's
I don't know why I jumped there.
You really hit both ends of the spectrum.
I don't even really shop there that often.
Well, I don't believe you now. If you're vacationing to Walmart, I'm not sure I believe that you're not there frequently. Or maybe it's special because you don't shop there.
Yeah. I'm a Publix person. That's a Floridian supermarket. But yeah, I should revenge travel to Walmart.
There you go. What's your news story, Diana?
I'm just going to be very... Okay, as you know that Kenny is the Delta fanboy. I'm the Japan fangirl. Anyways, and I just finally got to go on my dream trip to Japan, and I was like, oh my gosh, because it's reopened. And literally, I think it was like late October when it opened up. I was so shocked, and my husband was also shocked, but he's like, let's get it next month. I'm like, what? We're going this year? As in right before the year ends? So I was really shocked about that. Oh, also I said I wouldn't yell in this podcast, but I think I just did.
It's okay. It's forgivable. You're allowed to be excited.
Nice. Anyways, Japan was shocking.
Yeah. I think mine came at the tail end of this year as well. But it kind of built through the year. It was everyone kind of realizing how bad Southwest's core technology for scheduling was. And this isn't new news. This has been a known thing for a very long time. But I think this might be the most public that it's been, and people are starting to like go back and look and see, oh my gosh, this has been bad for a while. And I think people are starting to realize that it is now 2023. We have the means to fix this problem. Why can we still not like handle these issues? So it was surprising to realize just how antiquated and just how ineffective some of it isn't just Southwest, it's a lot of the airlines, but I know specifically Southwest is known for having a very, very outdated software despite it being 2023 now. So that was shocking.
Yeah, that is shocking.
So crazy. We spend a lot of time talking to Southwest employees booking group airfare. And we were told that Southwest employees, if the crew misconnects, they actually have to call and phone in their location into their like master scheduler. And even the employees can wait on hold sometimes for hours.
Wow.
So their
That's
software,
awful.
I guess when really critical things happen and there's mass cancellations, it just can't handle it. And they have to revert to an older pen and paper over the phone system. Insane.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with the last question of 2022. And I'd like to ask you guys, what travel company was the biggest winner of 2022? Kenny?
My biggest winner of 2022 has to be Airbnb. Now, if you look at the stock price, that's a different story. But if you look at just how resilient and at the center of culture this company really is, it's kind of amazing. And they did two really cool things. And I don't know when exactly they enacted this, but they changed the interface. I'm almost certain it was in 2022, but they changed the interface and they reorganized the UI to be centered around really like categories of vacations. So if you want to stay in a castle or a beach, they took away the location, like, oh, I want a vacation in New York, and they put the category front and center. And I thought that was a really cool and brave change. And then one of the most annoying things about Airbnb is that when you would shop on Airbnb, you would get price shock. So you would go on something and be like, hey, here's a room for, or a home for $300 a night, and you want to do 3 nights, and you would get to check out, and you would assume that you're going to pay somewhere between like $900 and $1,000 with tax. But no, because Airbnb service fees and cleaning fees are outrageous. So often you would go on and you'd be like, oh, $300 a night, 3 nights, $1,000 with some taxes and fees. Okay, great. No, the cleaning fee could be as much as a single room night. So I was just shopping and I saw a cleaning fee for $250. And I'm a little hard pressed to believe that $250 is what it costs to clean the Airbnb, but I get it. But one of the coolest things and the bravest things that I think that they did is that they were listening to their customers often complain on Twitter about how annoying and outrageous the fees are getting. And I think that it was damaging their brand, and they listened to their customers and they made a really big change. And now you can kind of see a more all-inclusive price during shopping, which I think is a step in the right direction. So Airbnb, my big winner of 2022. And I think that Airbnb is the best chance that a travel company has to become $1 trillion company. I said it here. We'll see if I'm right in about another 10 years, but I think they have a chance, and they were definitely a big winner of 2022.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, Nathaniel, what about you?
So I'm going to go kind of Kenny adjacent, but for me, I think Vrbo was probably one of the biggest winners of this past year. And I found out about Vrbo mostly through my parents over the last couple of years. Since my family is spread out across a couple different states, we started using Vrbo a lot because when we meet up, we have a lot of people. My family is 5, but now we're starting to add up. I've got a little niece, and everyone's getting married, so there's lots of people, and the family's constantly growing. So for us, when we vacation and all meet up together, we want the experience of all being in a house together. And I think one of the things that Airbnb was sort of working out for a while is they kind of covered everything from like, I just need a room in somebody's house, all the way up to I need an entire house. And Vrbo really honed in, and you can see this now reflected in the advertising they're doing. They really honed in on that desire of like, I want to walk up to a house and feel like it's my house for a week. And I'm not going to see some other person. I'm not going to run into other people. This can be my place. And so I really saw that explode. And anytime I see companies really ramping up advertising, that to me is kind of an indicator that they're doing all right. You saw it with Royal Caribbean as cruises started to come back. They really ramped up their advertising because revenue was going through the roof. So I've seen a lot of Vrbo advertising, and they're really hammering that exclusive stay aspect of their product, which we have always had great experiences with. So I think not only did they really win big in this last year, but I think that they will continue to win.
Ooh, that's awesome. What a solid review. Yeah. I went a little bit of a different direction with my article about how the airline, United Airlines, actually stepped up during COVID and just really was the forefront of getting all of their employees, all their pilots, everyone vaccinated, just so they can get more flights out at the time. And I think that's really bold to do because, I mean, obviously there was always the controversy of, the vaccines and stuff, but the fact that they just took the initiative to say, hey, we're going to try to like, not just like stay afloat, but like kind of like push forward into making sure people can travel when they need to. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that definitely helped give them a PR win amid several PR losses.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good to see that, win or lose, if an airline is trying to, maintain that, I guess, like you said, the good PR, or also just like good standing with its customer base. Like, I think that speaks volumes. It's like, we're going to just do whatever we can to help you guys out. So I think that's pretty cool.
For sure.
Awesome. So now that wraps up 2022. Some of our reflections. Let's go on to 2023, make some predictions and talk about some trends that we think will continue or fail. I'll kick it off. Let's go with Nathaniel first. What is a trend that got popular in 2022 that you think will continue in 2023?
So I'll go with, this was kind of like it got off to a rocky start, but I think the van life trend is really going to make a big recovery and continue to grow in 2023. It was a little rocky because gas prices spiking obviously affects people's desire to live in a van that drives around and uses gas. But as gas prices are starting to come down, car prices are evening out, and nomadic lifestyles are definitely in. The desire to see lots of places and do lots of things is exploding. So I definitely think that van life will not just recover, but will continue to grow. And I wouldn't be shocked if in 2023 you start to see some kind of product or offering around traveling vans and livable vans and renting out that kind of product, because I think there's a desire for it. But I think a lot of people don't quite have either the know-how or the means to buy and build one, but I think there's a strong enough desire to experience that kind of lifestyle that I think you might see some products coming up around that.
That's pretty cool. I might want to try my hand at that. Like, is there a Vrbo for like renting a van for those of us who don't have one?
There should be.
Yeah.
Kenny, you want to get on that?
I believe that there are some van sharing platforms out there. And if there's not, I'm sure someone's working on it because everyone wants to Airbnb-ify everything. But we'll have to do some research and maybe we'll get back to you at the end of the show.
All right, fair.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. I'll share my prediction if that's cool. I guess it's a prediction about the trend. Something I found out about through like a couple friends, like in different capacities were, like travel groups where you can have like a cheaper vacation. The itinerary is planned out for you. You just like pay your fee of like $2, $3, $4, $5,000, whatever you want, for a trip to go to, I don't know, Australia or Japan or, the Caribbean. Like there's so many different places you can go, but as a group, so one, you feel safe, especially if you're going somewhere that you don't speak the language, you've never really been there before, maybe you don't feel confident in your research. But I've heard a lot of positive stories from people who went on these group travel sites, like Kontiki is a big one. But after they did that, they came back with a lot of friends, like a lot of memories and cool experiences because you get this like shared, group travel. It's like the opposite of shared trauma, but what is that called? Shared lovely time. They had a great time. Anyways, so I think stuff like that's kind of cool. And I hope to see more of that where people are like kind of reaching out from even their closeted communities of, hey, I just travel alone all the time. It'll just be kind of cool to see people take these chances and more experiences because they've been positive from what I've heard. What do you guys think?
That's cool. I think you're right on because thinking about it, I have very rarely taken like a solo or small vacation. Every vacation I take is with family. Even the ones where we try to go on like a small, we still invite people. And so I think there's just something more fun about like if you're excited about something and then you're with other people that are also excited about that thing, it makes it way more fun. And so I definitely can see that where like, even if you've been somewhere before and you're going back to go with people and to be excited about it and then they're also excited about it, there's just something about that like group energy that really can't be replaced.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So my popular trend of 2022 that will continue in 2023, I'm going to split this up. But the first part, I'm saying that the trend of the hush vacation is going to increasingly become more popular. So what is the hush vacation? The hush vacation is where you are a remote worker and all of a sudden you go and relocate somewhere for a month and you put in your few hours in the morning or the afternoon and you kind of do this blended remote work / vacation life. This has been getting more and more popular, especially with the rise of remote work. And I think it's a trend that will continue in 2023. I think also remote work and digital nomads wanting to travel and work everywhere, the tooling that businesses use to engage employees really allows people to work asynchronously and all over the world. So I think that this trend is here to stay and it will continue in 2023. But I think the hush vacation is on the rise. Like I'm going to go work in Hawaii for 2 months or
AKA
2
Walmart.
weeks. AKA Walmart.
I didn't realize there was a word for that because, I'm glad I know it now because back in 2021, I actually did that. Me and my father-in-law were both working in a company, and what was nice is, some companies kind of acknowledge that this is going to happen. So, they just kind of work with you on it. And then some companies, you kind of have to hide it. Thankfully, we both worked for a company that was supportive of it. So we spent 2 weeks in St. Thomas and did pretty much that. Him more so than I, because he's much better at his job than I am. But we did that kind of thing where, you'd wake up a little earlier than you normally would. You'd crank out some work. Maybe, in the down moments where you're sitting around, you'd work on some stuff, maybe in the evening. But then, during the day, it's basically like pulling a bunch of half days, and then you'd be able to go to a beach or go around the island, and it was maybe the most productive I was that year, because there's something to be said about like coming in fresh to problems, and most jobs are just problem solving jobs. So yeah, I love that. I'm going to try it again in 2023 with a working cruise. I'll let you know how that goes. That one's a little different because I'm intending to work through the cruise, but yeah, I definitely see that trend only exploding.
And you're intending to invite us too. Got it.
Yes, everyone's invited.
Travel Nerds Cruise. Great. Yeah, so I actually did this in Hawaii in the summer of 2022. My wife and I had basically a free week, and we really didn't have time to take off, but our workloads were kind of minimal in the summer. So we were only probably putting in a few hours a day. It was like a little bit lighter. So we actually spent the week in Hawaii, and we had our computers at the pool, and essentially we were just cranking out work. Now, we did get a lot of nasty looks, to be honest. So there were no less than 2 people that came up to us and said, "Put the computer away, you're on vacation." And I just smiled and laughed, and I was like, but this is nice to me. Like, I enjoy sitting by a pool and working. I mean, I had my lounge chair, the pool, and then the ocean. And I actually like just catching up on work and checking emails poolside. So I think the Hush vacation is here to stay. And I may try another one where, like Nathaniel, I just go somewhere and I work for a week, because sometimes you could just block out all the noise and the distractions and get, the distractions of everyday life are gone when you're 1,000 or 3,000 miles from home. So sometimes you could really focus and get some stuff done. So I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know about you guys, but I top out at like a week of like pure vacation, and then I start going like, I feel like I need to actually do something. And so
I'm the same way.
Yeah, it's definitely good. But looking forward into 2023, do you think there's any travel companies that are going to go public? I'm going to start with you, Kenny, because this is right up your alley.
So the IPO market is ice cold, right? There's no new companies at all really going public. And if the market doesn't slide into a full-blown recession in 2023, I think that there's a handful of companies that are thinking IPO and have been long rumored to go into an IPO. And I think TripActions is probably the best candidate to IPO in 2023 if conditions are right. For those of you who do not know, TripActions is a corporate travel booking platform. They're pretty big. I think they started in 2015. They have raised an insane amount of money. I think they're on their Series G right now, which is insane. Just getting past a Series C or a Series D is usually you're flirting with going public, but they've raised has to be over $1 billion at this point. And from running a corporate travel company, I feel like that there's really not that much need to raise that much money. And so if you are raising that much money, you're always trying to get to the next milestone to think about going public. Because at some point, all of those investors, and they have a lot of famed investors, those people are going to want to cash out. So I think that there's a little bit of pressure on the TripActions team. And I think that if conditions are okay, we'll probably see a TripActions IPO in 2023.
I see your TripActions, and I'm going to raise you Hopper. So Hopper, speaking of raising crazy amounts of money, has raised $729 million so far. Most recently, they did their Series F with Capital One. They raised $96 million. And they're making a lot of moves that companies make before they go public. They've been doing acquisitions. They've been around a while. They have strategic partners. If you don't know, Capital One, they've really been getting into travel. A lot of credit card companies are kind of branching into travel. Amex has been doing it for a long time. A lot of other credit card companies are dipping in. But Capital One especially has been making a push. They recently relaunched the Capital One travel portal. So you see it's something that they're investing in and really focused on. So Hopper is a great strategic partner for Capital One. And they were last valued at something like $5 billion, but that was February of 2022 was the most recent number I saw. So it's definitely more than that. And they've expressed the desire to go public. So we know it's something that's on their radar. So I would be shocked if they wait past 2023 to do that, because I think all the indicators are really good for them. So that's my pick. Diana, do you have any strong opinions on companies going public?
I don't know. I'm just taking a look at the market. I'm wondering how rocky that's going to be for, more of these things to come. I think you guys have said mainly the biggest things that need to have been said. So yeah, dipping out.
Fair.
All right, guys. Now for my question. Let's pick a travel company or trend that you think might fail in 2023. Ooh, Kenny?
All right. If anyone works at one of these companies, don't come for me. But I think hybrid events are bullshit. And they're not going to last. And that's probably something that will die. What is a hybrid event, right? You have this in real life product, which is a conference. And conference experiences, some are good, some are bad. Probably all are overvalued. And then because of COVID, people were like, oh, well, we need to go to virtual conferences. And then once COVID kind of subsided and then conferences started really picking back up, you had all these companies that pitched these virtual conference platforms, and then they all had to become hybrid events, right? So they're going to take care of some element of the in-person conference and then some kind of like digital experience. But what is a hybrid event? Is it a podcast? Is it a YouTube video? Is it a talk? I just don't get the value. I've been to a lot of conferences, and I think that this hybrid is going to go by the wayside, and 2023 is RIP for hybrid events.
It sounds accurate. Yeah, that's a good point. What about you, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I agree. And I think all of the virtual platforms, in addition to that, all the virtual platforms that we've been using will probably begin reverting to their pre-COVID levels of value. But I think what immediately came to mind for me was Mark Zuckerberg's grand vision for the metaverse to be a place where people hang out virtually, and you get married, you have a virtual wedding and virtual meetings, and you go and experience like all the wonders of the world virtually. I think that is a pretty dead vision. Because if it was going to happen, the last 2 to 3 years when people were really looking at this, and then I guess the last 2 years was really when people were shut in a lot, that was the opportunity for people to go, hey, if I can't go out and do something in person, like, can I replace it with a virtual experience? And the overwhelming answer was no, you cannot. And so I think the only way that the metaverse really kicks off is if everyone forgets how much worse the virtual experience is from the real life one. So, sorry, Zuck, don't hate me, but I really don't think the grand metaverse vision is going to come to fruition.
That's so interesting because, my husband, he got the Oculus or whatever, and he really likes the VR, like the Google thing where you can take a look at your childhood home and stuff like that. And there's even companies that provide this sort of thing for seniors, as a therapy. I think that's interesting, but you're right. I still don't think it's quite the replacement. There's just something about being in the real world, smelling the air, feeling the products at Walmart that, that you can't virtually replicate everything.
Has someone made a VR Walmart yet? It's like a game, but all you do is shop in Walmart.
Walmart will probably be on it if they can make $1 from it, for sure.
Wow, I need it. Okay, but what about the trend of just the airlines we've been talking about with all these meltdowns? What do you guys think of that? They've been happening for a while. I know, Nathaniel, you touched on this, but as we saw with Southwest, and I'm sure a lot of other airlines, just historically, this has been happening a lot. But it's it's 2023. Hopefully, that trend will fail and that we will see some actions, maybe even from Congress stepping in, starting to regulate the airlines, making sure all their technology is up to code. What do you guys think?
It's an interesting take. So basically, your take is historically something bad happens, like the Southwest meltdown. Everyone gets mad, huffs and puffs, but then nothing changes, which is kind of in line with news cycles, right? When you think about it, there's really bad news, and CNN and every other platform, that's all they run 24 hours a day. 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And then like the 8th or 9th day, everyone's sick of it. So they have to invent some new crisis. And the original crisis just kind of goes away, right? And everyone kind of forgets about it. So it's interesting. Your take is that this last one was so bad, this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm-hmm. And you think it's going to force Pete Buttigieg and the folks at the transportation department to jump into action, which if Pete Buttigieg was going to run for president, which he's probably in line to, this would be a huge win for him if he can do some kind of mass consumer protection, because the cold reality is the airlines probably don't have the best net promoter score and probably are not looked upon favorably. So this would be an easy political win on both sides if Pete Buttigieg steps in and saves the day in 2023 and then announces a run for presidency. I like it, Diana. I think this could happen.
Yeah, Kenny, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was beautiful. All right. What's next, Kenny?
All right, last question, and then we're wrapping up. What is one thing you hope comes true for travel in 2023? And Diana, I'm actually going to go with you first.
Like, are you looking at me? Oh no. Alrighty. Well, actually, after experiencing Japan opening its borders, I actually do hope that more countries will open their borders and have less travel restrictions, or even like airlines and countries themselves finding more inventive ways to travel, like to make travel easier and smoother. I think that goes kind of hand in hand with updating like how flights are done. And there are lots of like innovations that are happening. Like I know there's that double-decker airplane, which that could be a hit, could be a miss. What if we like post a picture of that on this video? We'll have every listener weigh in, see if they like this idea or not. But it'd be kind of interesting to see more innovations and make that travel process more easier.
Awesome, Nathaniel.
I just want domestic airlines to get their crap together. You know, I mean, to me, all of business and politics is about the balance of power. So I do want an airline to invest in the best flying experience and to bring that to market so that I can pay for that. And I want the airline that's going to have the least cancellations and is going to give me an extra 2 inches of leg room and going to give me a nice little lounge to hang out in. Maybe I'm talking about Delta. Kenny, you can let me know. But I also really do want someone to define the minimum expectation, because I think we've seen across multiple industries, not just travel, if the only thing that counts is the bottom line, then you end up with these experiences that are detrimental to the consumer. And, you know, you're dealing with problems where, you know, you're booking a flight because you have to get to something very important, and then the airline isn't really held to any standard, so they can cancel your flight willy-nilly and just kind of push it around. And there's some protections as far as, you know, getting refunds and whatnot, but the quality of the travel experience, I think we really need to acknowledge. Like, if we are moving into a world that is increasingly global, not just national, then you're really going to need to make sure that your national infrastructure for getting around is solid. So just come on, do better. Do better.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What about like lounges? Are you like when you go to an airport, do you take advantage of any of the lounges?
I don't, because I don't fly frequently enough to be invited to any of the lounges, which is a real bummer. Because then when I do fly, I really want to be a lounge person, but it takes a lot of flights.
Let's make this your year.
We'll change that for 2023.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll work on that. All right. So in 2023, I hope that if one thing comes true for travel, I hope that there is more wellness-focused hotels. So this is a little bit of a call for product. I would like to check into a hotel, preferably just with my phone so I could head straight to my room. Marriott does that pretty good. But I want to check into a wellness-focused hotel where there is a tonal in my room so I can work out in my room without having to leave. And I want the bed to be an 8 sleep. So 8 sleep is this really cool kind of like futuristic bed that does a bunch of amazing and awesome things. And it's really wellness focused. So like if you are kind of a health nut, you've probably checked out an 8 sleep, because think of 8 sleep like a sleep fitness, right? So if I can get a hotel that has a tonal in the room, has the bed as an 8 sleep, and has some view of an ocean or a giant lake, and has really good, healthy, clean food, you can take all my money. All of it. That would be my hush vacation. You'd be like, Kenny, where are you? This is a little bit different of a background. I don't really recognize that, but like, this is my hush vacation. You'll just see me working on my 8 sleep with my tonal in the background and being served a healthy plate of fruit and some chicken.
It's your Hush podcast too. You're sitting there recording, doing a Hush. I don't think Hush podcast quite works when there's video though.
Yeah. It's probably true. But yeah, this is a call for product. Please, 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 someone make this. Someone at 8 Sleep, get a deal with Marriott, get a deal with Hilton, somebody. Tonal, do the same thing. I want these things in every room.
Wait, so quick question about 8 Sleep. Do you get toned abs when you wake up? Like, how is it fitness oriented? I'm really confused and I want to know.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a little advertisement for 8 Sleep. I don't have one yet, but I went through their sales process in getting one. And first of all, their team is like brilliant for how that they set up you learning about the bed and stuff. But it's a bed that has a bunch of sensors in it. So it tracks how you sleep, and then it controls the temperature of the bed. So the bed automatically heats and cools in order to optimize your sleep.
Yes.
So if I could get that coupled with a tonal, do you know what a tonal is? So a tonal is this device that you put on the wall, and it walks you through a bunch of like resistance training classes. It's amazing. I actually have one in my house, and it's probably one of the best products that I've ever bought. And so if I could get the 8 Sleep, which I would assume based on reviews is amazing, and if I could get the tonal in a hotel room, take all my money.
Okay, so you want this to be called the tonal package.
Another pun from Diana.
I like it.
All right, so I think that wraps up the pod. Thank you for hanging out with us, looking back on 2022, making some reflections, and then making some predictions and trends for 2023. We promise at the end of 2023, we'll come back on here with Connor and see which ones that we got right, which ones that we got wrong. And with that, I will say, everyone, we're wishing you a happy and healthy 2023. May all your crazy 2023, what do they call those? New Year's resolutions. I don't even know the name because I refuse to make them, but we hope all your resolutions come true. And thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week. Later, nerds.
Bye.